Hey, I'm John Cannell, and today on Preppy Kitchen, we're making easy, delicious brownie bites. So let's get started. A portion of this video is sponsored by Benefiber. To make this recipe, you'll need butter, chocolate chips, cocoa powder, sugar, flour, eggs, salt, and a little bit of vanilla. First off, set that oven to 350. We want it nice and hot, and grab a mini muffin tin. This is gonna be in your cupboard somewhere in the back, so take a look. And we just need to add a little bit of butter into the wells. These brownies really won't stick, but so much better safe than sorry. And if you're in a rush, you could definitely just spray it with some baking spray. This recipe makes about 24 brownie bites, so I'm gonna be buttering all of my wells. Set that aside, and now here's the deal. With these brownie bites, instead of making everything in bowls and mixing it together, you actually want to grab a big-ish pan. So grab a big pan. We're gonna be doing all the work on the stovetop, and because we're doing that, some magical things are gonna happen. Set that aside, and now, because we're working in a pan over heat, you wanna make sure everything is measured out ahead of time. If you don't, and you're not prepared, you know what's gonna happen. Things are bubbling away, you're like, I gotta measure that flour or sugar or whatever, and they burn in the pan, and you're gonna be so sad. So just measure everything out and have it ready. This portion of the video is sponsored by Benefiber. Benefiber contains plant-based prebiotic fiber. Getting all your fiber in doesn't have to be a chore. Benefiber makes taking fiber easier. It's a good source of daily fiber, and you can add it to your water or coffee in the morning. You can bake or cook with it. And as you can see, there's only one ingredient. When we think about being healthy, something that can get overlooked is gut health. Gut health is whole body health. And here's a fun fact. 70% of your immune system actually lives in your gut. So by keeping your gut healthy, you're also helping to support your immune system. The great thing about prebiotics is they support gut health by creating an ideal environment for those good gut bacteria to grow. The prebiotic fiber in Benefiber works by nourishing the good bacteria, and what's good for your gut is good for you. Benefiber dissolves completely, so you can't tell it's there when you add it to your favorite food and beverages. It's clear, taste-free, sugar-free, and gluten-free. Now let's get back to those brownies. Thanks to Benefiber for sponsoring this portion of the video. For this recipe, I want half a cup or 60 grams of flour, and you've seen me do this before, but I'm just gonna show you what happens. I'm gonna level this off. Let's see how much this is. That's 80 grams. That is not cool. That's 20 grams more than we wanted if you scoop it out. Measuring your flour with a scale is the best way. And if you can't do that, it's fine. Just scoop the flour out and sprinkle it in like it's raining flour on a gentle spring day, then level it off. You wanna have lots of air between your flour granules. Okay, that's measured out. Grab half a cup of chocolate chips. You could use any chocolate chips you like. Semi-sweet is the standard here. There we go. And 200 grams or 1 cup of granulated sugar. Sugar is actually like an okay ingredient to just use a scoop for, which is why I'm doing that today. And finally, you want 2/3 of a cup or 67 grams of cocoa powder. I weighed that out already for you. Now, let's get this over heat and start mixing. Now we're adding 10 tablespoons of unsalted butter. That's about 141 grams. We wanna get this nice and melty before we add our sugar in. These brownie bites are so delicious, and let me tell you, they're like a perfect bite size, so you can actually sprinkle them over your ice cream for a special treat. They're so good. My butter's all melted. Right now, I'm gonna stir my sugar in, so just sprinkle that in and mix it up. Once that sugar is mixed in, I'm gonna add the salt. It's 3/4 of a teaspoon. And like I said so many times before, if you're using a fine grain salt, use less of it because you get a lot more salt in that measuring spoon. I'm also adding in my 2/3 of a cup of cocoa powder. Whoa. As well as 2 teaspoons of vanilla. Whoa. Now that that's in, we're gonna stir everything up until it is a beautiful, amazing slurry. Stir this up and you can see the cocoa powder basically turning into a dark, gorgeous fudge right now. When you add cocoa powder into a hot liquid like hot water or hot butter, you get this amazing, fudgy, beautiful texture. It's called blooming cocoa powder, and it's similar to blooming spices when you add those into hot butter and oil to really release all the flavor out. Whenever you melt butter and you add the cocoa powder to it, you're taking all of the cocoa flavor out and making it so fudgy and delicious. It's the same trick you use on normal brownies as well as on like devil's food cake, where you're having hot water in the cocoa powder. The heat helps release the flavor. And now I'm gonna remove this from heat and just let that cool down for 5 minutes, because if we add the rest of the ingredients in, they will burn. And we want it to be fudgy, smooth, delicious, and amazing. So 5 minutes, be right back. Our fudgy chocolate mixture is warm, but it's not hot because I do not want to scramble these eggs. Add them in right now. There you go. And we're just gonna whisk until they're all together. You can see there's no like white stuff happening on the egg whites. That's because this is a nice warm temperature. It's the same deal if you're making like creme pâtissière or something like that. I like to give this an extra little mix once the eggs go in, because that helps you get that beautiful crackly brownie top. So just mix, 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 mix. And you can also see the texture really comes together, and it's like chocolate pudding almost. Now we add our scant ½ cup of flour, 60 grams. Ooh, so good. The flour just helps hold it together and give it some structure. And like I said before, these brownie bites are the perfect size. Just pop them right into your mouth. You can have them with some ice cream or over anything else. It's like a grab and go treat that you don't feel bad about. Once the flour is almost all incorporated, we're gonna add our ½ cup of chocolate chips in. The nice thing you're gonna see here is the chocolate starts melting right away. So you get these, instead of having like a chocolate chip inside, you have a fudgy chocolate streak running through. There we go. Now we're gonna pop these into our little wells. And you should see the texture is really fudgy. That's how you know the recipe went right. This is about 1.5 tablespoons of batter per brownie. You're gonna see it's just evenly distributed among the 24 wells. And come take a look at this, because there's just streaks of pure chocolate all the way through. You can add so many delicious things to these brownies to make them your own. Toasted nuts, just make sure to chop them up because these are really tiny. Some sprinkles on top, a little bit of peanut butter, some caramel or toffee. The world is your oyster here. You can let me know in the comments what you would add to these to make them even more delicious. And by the by, these guys are good for up to a week in the fridge, or you could store them in the freezer for up to 2 months. Just make sure they're in a resealable freezer bag, and you'll have an on-demand chocolate treat at your fingertips. These go into the oven 12 to 15 minutes until the center is set and the tops are cracked and shiny. In you go. Let your brownies cool in the pan for 10 minutes, then pop them out, and they are ready to enjoy. Rich, fudgy, and delicious. I hope you get a chance to make this recipe, and if you like this video, check out my chocolate playlist.